Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Network Classics. Really having a blast doing these. This has really been fun, going through some of the fantastic episodes that the WWE has produced, WWE Entertainment has produced and now put up on the network, the WWE Network. And we have already done a Saturday night's main event before. We're going to do another episode this week, one that took place on October 5th, 1985. And this is a good one, boy. This is, you've heard me say it many times, so bad it's good. It is just a blast to watch. It took place at the Meadowlands Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Folks on the East Coast probably know where I'm talking about. If you don't, it is in New Jersey, not far from New York City. And apparently there's about 8,000 folks to watch this one. Our play-by-play guys are Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura. They were a good announce team. I've said before, I was never a big fan of Vince on his own or doing announcing with other people, but I really think that him and Jesse worked very well together. And, of course, Mean Gene handled the announcing duties for all the backstage and in-arena interviews, and we have a few in here. Before we move too far along, I want to give credit here to 411mania.com. 411mania is .com is the ones we got these notes from on this particular program. And I want to give a lot of background on this before we get into it. But in the meantime, you can get to the WWE Network and then go to In-Ring, and then you go down to where they have like featured programs, I think it is, or network classics, and then just find Saturday night's main event. And as soon as you bring that up, as soon as you click on that icon, the Saturday night's main event icon, this episode was right at the top. But it's October 5th, 1985, if somehow that's changed on your screen. And it's the Saturday night's main event. Number 2, the second edition of Saturday night's main event. We did the first one already. And a lot happening with this one. They just threw the whole kitchen sink into this one. They've got. Let's just do a little background so we have a source of reference as to what everybody was doing. The world champion was the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan. The Intercontinental Champion with Tito Santana, which I don't even remember him being the champion, but he did hold the belt for a span. The World Tag Team Champions, the WWF Tag Team Champions then, were none other than Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus the Barber Beefcake, if you can believe that. And the Women's Champion was Wendy Richter. And an interesting note here, and we've discussed it during our podcast before, that Wendy's reign was short-lived in the WWF. And we're talking, and this is October of 85, and, they had WrestleMania, and so she's still riding high in this, but by November, it's all over. She's been had the Madison Square Garden screw job, and then she is out. She is no longer the women's champion, as Moolah had stepped in and basically, according to her and a lot of people, to Wendy, she got screwed, and she wasn't going to have any of it. She basically left that arena that night, Madison Square Garden, got into a cab, and never looked back. Although the wounds would be somewhat mended years later as she went into the WWE Hall of Fame. But quite a drama going on there with all this happening. But she was a world champion at the time. And I thought it'd be interesting, too, to go back and look at what was happening in 1985, because the main event here is going to feature Hulk Hogan taking on Nikolai Volkov, who's in full regalia. The whole Russia theme still going here as Nikolai continues to bring the Russian flag to ringside. Now, the Cold War was really starting to wrap up at this time. As a matter of fact, in March of 85, Mikhail Gorbachev had become the leader of the Soviet Union after the death of former leader Konstantin Chernenko. And, Gorbachev became this transformative figure in the USSR. if you'll recall. And then, of course, later, as Ronald Reagan would say, bring down this wall. And it really changed everything in the former United Soviet, Russia, as it was known, USSR. And it changed everything. So it was interesting to see that we're still playing up the whole America against Russia here, and they could still get away with it. But communism, and has it really ever changed when it comes down to it? But at this point in time, though, the communist system was crumbling; it wasn't working, and they knew they had to find other ways. And Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan did change the world forever. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. And going through some of this other stuff about what was happening in 1985, they had the coldest winter in eastern U.S. The eastern halves of the United States and Canada faced some of the coldest temperatures ever recorded in the 20th century as an Arctic air mass moves through the country. And it's funny, but since that point in time, with all the theorists on our climate saying we're going to go into an ice age and then we're going to be warming, and this was happening in '85. So it just thought that was interesting to see. This year was also when they had the Live Aid concerts. Remember these that they raised money for famine victims in Africa, and they were it was a big part of pop culture because a lot of the big artists at the time, got involved in the recordings and, that were all over the radio. And they raised a lot of money. They really did. This was something that, this was in July of '85, and they had these rock concerts for famine relief in Ethiopia and around the world. But they had these big concerts in London and Philadelphia, down in Australia, and also in Russia. So that was something else, because you remember Bob Geldof. He was the one that really was the big name behind all this. And they raised like $125 million. And, big acts that were part of this was B.B. King, Bob Dylan, Cher, David Bowie, Duran Duran, Elton John, Hall & Oates, Lionel Richie, Madonna, Paul McCartney, Queen, Run DMC, YouTube. Remember, they did the videos, and even Michael Jackson was involved in it. It was also a year they tried to put out that new Coke. Remember? New Coke. Ooh, man, that was just not good. Lesson learned by all corporations of America. So it was also the coldest winter in the eastern U.S. This is when they were putting out the warnings back then. We're going to slip into the ice age, and now we're going to burn up. But even back then, it was the call for climate change was a big deal, and this was certainly fueling that we had global cooling that was going to happen. So that was another big part of it. So I would see if there's anything else worth noting. As I mentioned, Nintendo. More information on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Isn't that hard to believe how far we've come? And this was '85. Nintendo was just gigantic. It had this home gaming system. It was one of its revolutionary, as they called it, and had been released in Japan in 1983. And the system, they say, did not initially sell much. As the video game market had dropped, but with Nintendo's U.S. release of their breakout game, remember Super Mario Brothers later that year. I just think it's funny that it wasn't that big when it hit. Jeez, it's changed a bit, hasn't it? Boy. Oh, okay. Oh, and Michael Jordan was the MVP of the NBA. So now it just kind of sets the stage of where we were back in 1985 as we get to this. Okay, so I hope I've given you plenty of time here to queue up the episode. And as I've talked a little bit about before, but maybe you didn't catch the last episode. I do want to mention that what Saturday night's main event was all about. Now this was coming off, as I've said before, when rock and wrestling was had really taken wrestling mainstream. In cooperation with, this was a partnership with MTV, and this is when Cyndi Lauper got involved, and all these, Lou Albano was big, and it had really taken off. And Dick Ebersol, who was with NBC and was a big name in NBC Sports and NBC Sports later on, but also he was one of the original founders, I guess. I don't know if that's the word to use, but had been in on the inception of Saturday Night Live in those days, with Chevy Chase and Jim Belushi and John Belushi and all of the other, the stars that would come out of that over the years. And he was a wrestling fan, but had for him, he was looking at it from a network executive's viewpoint, and had seen the kind of numbers that they were doing with rock and wrestling and the attention it was getting across the country and around the world. But he saw the chance here, because Saturday Night Live would go on hiatus. They wouldn't do a show every single week. I don't remember how many weeks they did during the season, but there would be times when they would basically just show a rerun. And so his idea was to bring this show back, really, because putting professional wrestling on network television, which hadn't been done since the 50s. And his idea was to do the show, and it depending on where you were in the country, what this thing would come on. Now, I was on the west side of the United States, so they had, like your local news would come on at 10 and be over at 10:30. Back east, it was an hour later, usually 11, it would come on 11:30. Saturday night, they didn't have news usually, but, or they did have news, what am I saying? But this show would come on right after. And so it would be on for an hour and a half. So you'd be, it was 90 minutes, at least that Saturday Night Live was on. So this is what this program was. And he came up with the concept, Saturday night's main event, that would be fill-in programming when Saturday Night Live was off. And it did exceptionally well. Produced the numbers that they wanted to do, and it was on for a number of years. So this was the second episode. And one thing that I really liked about this program is that there weren't many opportunities for people to see, superstars a superstar going against another superstar in a match, because superstars of wrestling, of course, was a big promotional tool. They would just put superstars in the ring with some jobber, as we call them. Enhancement talent has become the more politically correct term now. And of course, we can debate. There's differences between jobbers, people that they just put in there to squash, and guys that were very talented wrestlers that were put in there, which I consider enhancement talent, to put superstars over, and they were really good at doing it. But I digress here, because it was a chance for people to see these matches on network TV, which didn't cost you anything. Cable was just kind of in its infancy, so you could see these, this television for free. And so they jazzed it up pretty good. They would do some good matches like this one. They had, Hulk taking on Nikolai Volkov. This is also when all of that was going on with Hillbilly Jim, that angle with him coming into the WWF and him being the hillbilly. And Jim got hurt, badly hurt. And so he couldn't wrestle right away. So they needed something to kind of fill it in, because they'd kind of started this angle. And that's when they brought in Uncle Elmer and all these other hillbillies, and kind of went with that angle. And this was a big part of this show, because Uncle Elmer gets married. And so they have the wedding on network television. And as I said at the top of this, it's so bad. It's good. We just... if you love cringeworthy television, there's a lot in this hour that's coming up here, and I'll leave it at that, because we'll explain all of it as we go. But there, good lineup of matches here as far as the talent goes. So they had Paul Orndorff taking on Roddy Piper. Andre the Giant was there that night. He teams up with Tony Atlas to face King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd. Got some big boys in the ring for that one. And then the Dream Team, as they were known, Brutus Beefcake and Greg Valentine, the tag team champions, facing Lanny Poffo and Tony Gurria, who is still working at this time. Shortly afterwards, he would be retired, because I remember by the time I got to the WWF, he wasn't in the ring anymore. He was anymore. He was an agent. He was working behind the scenes. But it's not a bad lineup for network television. So, what do you say we get to it? I hope you're all queued up right now. We're going to start this out, and I'm basically, guys, at 0000, and I hope you are as well. And I'm going to do the old deal. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, play, and then we will all push the button. Okay. So if you haven't gotten it queued up yet, do so right now. Put this on pause, cue it up, and then we come back. Okay. All right. So let's take a quick pause here. All right, and I'm assuming you're back and you're all queued up. If not, you just had to endure a second of silence there. But let's get to this one as we open Saturday night's main event, and they start once again. This is part of the program. They do what we call the cold open, and that's where you just came out of a commercial or whatever, and it was right to the talent, the sound on tape, instead of the usual animated open with music and highlights and big announcement of what you're watching. This would just go right into the way they wanted to start it, and then, of course, they would get into an open. So here we go. Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1, and press play. Okay, it starts out here with Mean Gene Okerlund, along with Nikolai Volkov, and I don't know what, I guess that's supposed to be like a Russian soldier's trench coat. And Nikolai, you couldn't understand him even. This is like the worst I've ever heard him. I don't know if he got in the vodka before they started this thing, but man. Gotta love Freddie Blassie in the sparkly shirt. He had quite a wardrobe. And the Hulkster kind of going with a pirate theme here. I'm not quite sure. I never really, I know it was a different look, but kind of over the eye thing. I liked it better when he had the bandana over, his whole head. But this is interesting here because, they, of course, had confidence in Hulk Hogan to cut a promo. I mean, the guy was the best in the business. But they only had one announcer. This is before I came along, so they couldn't do what we would, split and go to somebody else. The Hulkster took this one all on his own with the microphone there. And then we go back to Gene, who had to scramble back to the reception area. Nah, it was a pre-tape. But you guys are smart. You guys are smart to this. I don't have to explain it. But here's a pre-tape. This was definitely a pre-tape. Hillbilly Jim, Uncle Elmer. That's a lot of hair. He looks kind of like a lion there. He had it all going with the fro and everything. The big perm. He's on a mission of love. And then, oh boy, Elmer. Roddy Piper comes in and says he's been doing a little grazing. He comes with a handful of hay. All right, now, here we go. Just keep talking, Roddy, and then we get into that phenomenal open, huh? Saturday night's main event. Woo! Look at these effects. Freeze frame. Things would advance. There they are. You see, there's Nikolai, Andre, still stepping in the ring. Did you guys know how much Andre hated Big John Studd? Yeah, that was real. And you could understand why. And here we go, coming out from the big sign at the Meadowlands Arena in New Jersey. This is October 5th, 1985. Now, this is also, you can kind of hear the echo. So they have this opened up to the house. So they would shoot these right there. Jesse was there and so was Vince. And you can hear the reaction of the crowd as Vince tells everybody what the matches are. So listen. So, see, and this is the difference, like when you watch Superstars. Remember, I've told you before how they had the green screen behind them because they would shoot these generic crowd shots, and they would, fire up the crowd just to cheer. See, and you can now, but the fact that they did this live at the arena, it's to tape, but I'm saying when they did this is live to tape, you can hear them reacting to Vince's words. There you go. Jesse in one of his many, many different outfits. He's got the purple tuxedo going on and the crazy-ass sunglasses. And I think it was kind of a shoot here. I just thought it was awful they were doing this bit. And he's just going on the record that this is an outrage that they're having this hillbilly wedding on network television, and no place not only on network television, but also in the world of professional wrestling. How dare they? And Howard loved doing this bit. He's asking you to please rise as Nikolai sings the Russian national anthem. He's got the big heat going with the flag. And Freddie just loved being a heel. He loved the heat. And I wish I could tell you all the stories. I actually got to spend a lot of time with Freddie when I was living in the Stamford area, because Freddie lived close by, and as he was had become the ambassador to the WWF, and so they would send us to all of these charity events together, and we just had a great time. But, I kind of like the look of the coat. That didn't stick around for very long, but, got the sickle and hammer. And Jesse, he's always the diplomat here saying, you see all the crap they're throwing at him? So they were able to keep this Cold War storyline going. And then here's Gene Okerlund along with Hulk Hogan, American Made. So when they would do these, kind of backstage a bit, and this one was not opened up to the house. And look behind there, you can see some empty seats. So this was probably done prior, before this all started. This is a pre-tape. But we'll see. I can't be, I don't remember, and I wasn't there at the time, but that's what it looked like. Okay, so you've got Nikolai Volkov, and then we've got the big entrance coming of the Hulkster, and very much the American Patriot theme. And look what he's coming out to. He's not coming out to Real American. He's it's that John Philip Sousa. Kind of the 4th of July theme going here in October. I don't know if this is an exception, but they soon, Hulk would never hit the ring without you hearing Real American. This was an exception. And wearing white was also interesting, not the usual gold and red. Oh, big kick to the hiney. As the two brawlers go at it, of course, Nikolai, that sneak attack there, headbutt, big logs across the shoulders, slams the Hulkster into the turnbuckles. They're going to do a little tour around the ring. And just rips the T-shirt off. The American-made T-shirt, how dare he? So just add insult to injury here with trying to do more injuries. Choking Hulk Hogan. And the Hulkster really in big trouble early on here in this matchup as Nikolai Volkov doesn't let up. Oh, big block. Nuh-uh. Big elbow. And now it's Volkov who ends up in that turnbuckle eating it. Hard in there, and a clothesline, and down goes Nikolai. There you go. Freddie Blassie not happy what he's seeing. Into the ropes, and why not? Another clothesline, down goes Nikolai. Not a whole lot in the arsenal here, but man, he knows how to deliver it, right? Great shot with the American flag in the background. Headbutt as Nikolai staggers back in the corner. You know, Nikolai was a big boy, man. And this is the classic big boy match. Boot to the chest, Nikolai. Oh, right on the table there. Ooh. Now, not quite sure whose idea it was to have tables that frickin' close to the ring. That's just, you need that 7-foot barrier with of course they move those tables much further back. But that was just, I don't think you're supposed to go out on that side, actually. Oh, man. That big forearm right to the kidneys. And remember now, this is also, Mary, I mentioned we're in New Jersey here. And when they'd have these events, this was all union. So the WWF didn't have a lot of control with how the ring was set up as far as, where they had things. And many cases they'd have to have like ghost union members who would shadow these guys, and they would actually set the ring up, but they'd have the personnel. Well, he got his hand in the wrong place. Now we're talking getting the shorts up, but Nikolai's showing some strength there. Hulk had a few lbs behind him there, and trying to lift up the Hulkster could not have been easy. But anyway, the reason I was bringing that point about the union is that they had like New Jersey Athletic Commission guys at ringside that just would be there for a payday, basically. But that's the way things ran back then before they finally said, screw it, we're just going to come out and it's sports entertainment. And the illusion was gone, and so were the ridiculous payoffs that they had for this form of entertainment. Guys made a lot of money back then. Trying to get the Hulkster up for a pile driver. Oh, and he lifts up Nikolai and sends him over. For the two big men and Nikolai was, still pretty agile. For Nikolai, right? You see a lot of action now. He knew this was a big exposure. And, for what he had, he was very entertaining. Double axe handle. Another one. See, here we go. Hulk Hogan reaching down, as we always would see. This punches no sell. But those big rights are doing damage to the side of the head of Nikolai Volkov. Reverses. There goes the Hulkster into the corner, and those lightning quick reflexes. Gets out of the way before Nikolai can do anything. Drops the leg. Here's a cover. And there you have it. It's that leg drop. It was all over. Big victory for America, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, takes the flag, rips it off. Headbutts the flag. I don't know what that was about, but this gives a good message, right? Shining my boots with the Russian flag. And you hear Jesse in the background, what an outrage. How disrespectful. I don't care your feelings. And spits on it. And then we get the John Philip Sousa music back in. So I wonder if they used this music during this whole run between these two, because, you know, they had a lot of house shows going with the same angle. Here, Vince, biggest name in wrestling and romance. Because that's exactly what I think when I'm thinking of Uncle Elmer getting married. The Fink heavyweight champion, Hulk Hogan. And Hogan must pose. And boy, did he do it well. Yeah. Big stuff. All right. After that quick break, that timeout, we're back into it. And Gene was busy, boy, for these Saturday night main events. So now I'm looking at this, maybe it was live, but I guess because they couldn't see him, they didn't open it up to the house. So, but obviously this was post match. But I'm looking at the crowd, and it looks pretty much the same as it was when we saw that first interview. So maybe they did do it before he went out. And of course, we got to plug the wedding that's coming up. And remember, there's this alliance between Hulk Hogan and Hillbilly Jim. It's the Hulkster who brought Jim into the WWF. Gene's going to be playing the organ. I don't know if that was an inside joke that Gene didn't miss an opportunity. So I'm going to leave it at that, because I know he didn't play the organ, at least not that I ever saw. So maybe might have been much better on the ivories, but organ I don't think was part of his repertoire. Okay, so we just slide in Uncle Elmer, Hillbilly Jim. All right, keep it to just a few words, Uncle Elmer. And Cousin Junior. Huh. Uh-huh. All right. See, this one you can hear is in the arena. All right. Gene gets through it. Oh, look at this. Jerry Valiant, who at one point got some attention as of note. At this point, though, he's pretty much an enhancement talent to the Stars, as you will see in this match coming up with Uncle Elmer. We've got Cousin Junior at ringside along with Hillbilly Jim. And as I mentioned before, Jim, he had just come into the WWF and had gotten hurt. One of the matches, I think he hurt his knee really bad. And so there's Cousin Junior. That was pretty much his contribution to the WWF at the time. Okay. Jerry Valiant. Yeehaw. There you go. There you go. As Uncle Elmer gets set to go in this matchup against... Don't blink, everybody. There you go. There's a cover, and I think that was a new record. Yeah, that was pretty quick. I think it was like 6 seconds is what it. It's in the notes here. It says this breaks King Kong Bundy's shortest match ever record from WrestleMania against SD Jones, which was 8 seconds. There you go. And there you go. Jerry Valiant gets to do this on national television. So much for a career. Okay. But obviously they're trying to put over Uncle Elmer big time, asking Jerry Valiant to go down in 6 seconds. So this is part of it. Okay, so you ready for this? Slams him. Well, I thought this is longer than 8 seconds. Yeah. Oh, boy. So that was part of the angle of this, is have to go back to a match with King Kong Bundy. I don't know. Kind of interesting to see that it's Uncle Elmer that would break the record. Does he look like he weighs 450 pounds? I mean, he's a big boy, but I don't know. 400? Didn't even break a sweat. As Gene talks with Uncle Elmer. Mm-hmm. Huh? I think they gave him too many sentences. Yeah, so, look, the Terminator. I'll be back. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger in the crowd. Wow. Okay, there's a surprise. The Body Shop. Oh, and he changed and put on the, I'm not quite sure what that is. The Swami, I don't really know. Joker, what's... Bobby Heenan. Anytime you see Bobby in the ring, it's worth the watch. Now, the Body Shop, I don't know, never quite took off, did it? As he should have taken off that outfit. I don't know what's going on with that thing there. That's just a little crazy. All right, so in this interview, Bobby is talking about, he's put a price on Paul Orndorff's head because if you remember back in the time, Orndorff had turned babyface, and he's gone from $25K to $50. Oh boy, look, let's see if we're going to get even a view of some money. Look, let's get to show him. Let's see. Oh, there he goes. Okay. A lot of paper in that briefcase. What is it? What are those? There's like weightlifting equipment. What is that? Because I guess Jesse the body. I guess I'm not quite sure. Yeah, of course Jesse just loves it all. Yeah, but now he's all good. So you got Mean Gene with Paul Orndorff. What a physical specimen, huh? Got the feathered look with that haircut. Oh. Oh boy. Can't talk about that anymore. So we got Gene here backstage with Orndorff reacting to what Heenan just said in the ring in the body shop. So Gene making fun of the skirt that he wears. Classic Gene. Knows how to wrap it up and knows how to sell it. Orndorff can't wait. He's running to the ring. Be careful, don't get blown up here. He can't wait. He wants Piper. Ooh. Almost takes a swipe there at the Fink. We got Piper backstage with Gene. So Piper ready to go for that $50K. And I guess it must be pretty loud in there because he's trying to block the noise. He puts his finger in his ear. I don't know. What the hell's that about? Oh, got to bring, because this is a recurring theme, right? This goes throughout the show. They're going to sell this thing and put it out there, whether you like it or not. And here we go. Man, he was a specimen, though, wasn't he? Oh, man, they're doing it all up, man. Full. And I'm sure this is either the fire department or, police, giving them the showcase here, which is awesome. Wearing of the green. These first responders. If you ever spent any time in New York City, man, they all the parades, and they have these bagpipe corps that are just phenomenal. And Bobby bringing out the briefcase full of money, $50,000. And we come back. So far, look at this is just a right out, just punch, 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 back and forth. Man. And I'm feeling this isn't going to change too much in this one. Sends him in there, clothesline, down goes Orndorff as, big kick to the face. Hey, you didn't expect Roddy to play by the rules, did you? They didn't talk to each other about what shorts they were going to wear. Or maybe they did. Little warning to, this is back east, man. Look at this, all the stuff they're tossing in the ring. Oh, man, do these guys hate each other or what? That's just a body tackle. And you could see the garbage that they're throwing in the ring. One of the big things back then is they'd sell beer in these wax cups, these wax-coated cups, and they could wad those things into a decent ball, that they could throw, and they couldn't do much damage, but you could throw them a pretty good distance. These two going at it. Oh boy. Piper, a little measured kick to the forehead, a little stomp. Pounding away. This is just a brawl with these two. And that was meant to be. As Piper literally kicks him out of the ring and then goes after him at ringside. Ooh, hard into that steel railing. Chair to the back. See, now, as I talked about, those guys are not WWF people. They're probably just either athletic officials or union guys, and they just love being at ringside, and they could go down there and do it. It's just timers or whatever. But with that, you had to know you could be part of the action. You got taken out. That was your fault. You were down there. Big shots. Oh, Roddy makes it just simple. Just poke him in the eyes, right? Big knee right to the chin. And Ordendorff taking the brunt of it at this point. Big spin. Oh, and they're both just they're just both reeling at this point. And we'll see. They're going to start the count again. Oh, boy. Two big knees right to the chest. Probably took the wind out of Piper, literally at that point. Oh, man, that was kind of a surprising move for those two. Shot right over the top of the top rope there. Misses with the chair. And you hear that count continue as this brawl just continues on. As they're fighting all the way backstage. I think it's fair to say it's far from over between these two. I think they've already rang the bell. Gee, and under the scaffolding, grabbing whatever they can. And you can see him. Oh, that took out one of the referees, one of the officials. Oh, amazing. We have a camera there. And Piper goes in. He's slamming the door on his arm. Oh, well. So I think it's a double DQ on this one. But, of course, the real action's taking place backstage. Is the ref still trying to break it up? Where's the all hands on deck? He's going to need some help. Just crazy. Can you believe it as we go to break? And now it's time for the nuptials. Uh-huh. Yeah. Jesse said he looks like he's the Phantom of the Opera. That's a great line. And of course, yeah, that's Gene, right? You believe it, right? Playing, yeah. Okay. As they come in. And that was a little bit of shtick, I think, to put Gene there, have him involved. But you thought they would have made him the announcer for this. Ooh. And look at look at this circus. You've got the entrance as they come up. They got the stairs. And you got Andre and Tony Atlas who are lifting the ropes. Oh no, the Hulkster. He teams up with Andre teams up with Atlas coming up a little later on. Yeah. Match made in heaven. Look at Gene. What's with that shot? It's just too funny. So look at all the people they got on stage here. Lou Albano. There's Cousin Junior. So is this supposedly, the legit minister, right? Yeah, of course. Marriage. Remember that from Princess Bride? Yeah, okay. Uncle Elmer just all broke up, all nervous. How long do we have to endure this? And listen to people that are booing. Jesse. Oh, God. Can we move this along? That was the first question. How fast can we get this over with? I don't know if you guys remember this whole gimmick, this whole shtick, this storyline. Like I said, it was so bad it was good, I guess. Oh, boy. You just have to look at this at the time, right? That they're laying this all out to these guys. Okay, then you're going to go in the ring. You're going to stand ringside. Are you going to stand in the ring? Expect it was respect. Yeah. So I think that's null and void. What's the idea with the ties on the outside of the overalls? Jesse says, Joyce, she can still get out of it. Oh, she got hit. She got pelted with something. Yeah, people ain't buying this stuff. Remember, this is supposed to be a babyface angle. Oh, God. How long? Jesse says they go on fingers or noses. Goodness. Well, Uncle Elmer looks a little nervous there. Good Lord. He's not quite getting those fouls. I can't hear you. Those people are hoping that he wouldn't. Look at, he can't even hold his hand still. It's a wreck. Elmer couldn't quite, remember the 5 words. Listen to the crowd. Oh, Roddy comes in, has to just make it, just has to ruin it. I think they're behind Roddy here. What do you think? I think they agree with Roddy. They agree with him. Look at the guy behind him. He's got one of those old flash cameras. Oh, he's just out of control. He's not getting pelted. I think people agreed with him. I like Hulk's version of his of the tuxedo. He's got the boots going, sleeveless shirt. I now thank God pronounce you man and wife. Like, okay. Oh, boy. Big grinding kiss. Yeah. That is some ladies' man. Gene. Gene on the organ. That's too freaking funny. How funny is that? Me, Gene playing the organ. They throw these shots and Gene's just playing it up. Oh, God. Okay. Is that one of the children? No. I think they had to dub in the oinks or the squeaks, the squealing. Oh, got chickens. You know this is not going to end well, right? You know it is not going to end well. But any chance you get the opportunity to get pigs on the set, they're going to go for it. King Kong Bundy. And Big John Studd behind him. Oh, boy. Bobby wasn't going to let that go by. Wow. King Kong Bundy. Yeah, well, he probably wasn't real thrilled having to do this match. What's kind of sad to think of, guys, is the fact that none of these guys are still with us. That's just sad. Let me take a break, and there's Andre making his way to the ring. And they did love him at Madison Square Garden. Big John Studd going, oh boy, I got to do another match with this guy. He's going to just destroy me. Because, Andre, there was one giant. There was no other giant. And anybody else was going to have to put up with a punishment. I'm not sure if Andre was fond of King Kong Bundy either. So we got this matchup here now. Big John Studd, King Kong Bundy taking on Andre the Giant, and then you see Tony Atlas there in the corner in this tag team match. Bundy was a big guy, man. Look at him next to Andre. Now let's see, just see how stiff he is with these guys, all right? Because if Andre didn't like you, man, oof, it was not going to be pretty. And he's choking Bundy. Probably he probably's got a little bit pressure on the throat there. And I mean, look at these shots, and as we get going, watch it through this match of just how he really is pretty brutal on these guys. And especially like you'll see when Big John Studd gets in here. And even at this point, Andre was not capable of a lot. As you see these guys going at it. Oh. Look how small Atlas is next to him. Well, Tony, though, he was a physical specimen, but next to these guys, man, he just looked puny. I was kind of surprised that his lower section was so small compared to the rest of him, because he was just an avid weightlifter. I'm surprised that he didn't do more to balance out the bottom half. Here comes Stud. Wow. So some athleticism there. Trying to pick up Big John Stud, man. He weighed a few pounds, right? The reverse. Oh, and misses with the legs, and oh, man. He tries to grab a wad of hair as he drops the elbow there. Big kicks. Oh, boy. He's not going to stick around for any of that business, so Stud backs away in a hurry after Andre gets a hold of him. And there's a tag. All right, so let's see what happens here with these two. For big reasons, so he's reluctant to get into the ring with Big John Stud, or with Andre. And when Andre was slung those arms, man, it was like logs were flying. But these, where he would do the punishment, where he'd really lay it in there with those chops, and you see, he sends him into the ropes. Now look at that boot. Yeah. No love there. No love lost, that's for sure. Oh, boy. Stud sends Atlas into that steel post. Big elbow into the chest of Andre, and then Stud lays one in. And we've got the bell. So this one's going to last. And you see there's a pattern here. These matches don't really last longer than 4 or 5 minutes. Oh, yes, he is. As Atlas is incapacitated, in comes the Hulkster. Big shots from Hulk Hogan as he goes after Stud too. The big save from Hulk Hogan as Atlas was incapable, of course, after getting rammed into that ring post. So, of course, the Hulkster had to come in to clear the ring. He's slipped into the leather pants. That's part of the tuxedo look, remember? As Andre does the double noggin knocker. And we're going to milk this for a little longer. With Hulk Hogan coming in making the save. And Gene Okerlund, like I said, boy, he was all over the arena for this. He was played the organ, all the different interviews. He got a lot of face time. I saw that Hulk Hogan had a recent tweet where he talked about, he showed a picture of the last time that him and Gene were together, and saying how much he missed him. And those two are really, really close. They came up through the ranks. It was one of the big reasons that Gene even ended up with the WWF is because Hulk Hogan lobbied for him and wanted him there, and he realized the magic the two of them had, and they were really, really close friends. I know Gene told me that they had dinner all the time, even up until the time of his death. and just really, really close friends all those years, all those many years. And of course, we got more Gene. I love that he drives up. He's got a mic with a wire on it. So that's going to the illusion. Oh, we're going to into the wild. It's Gene. Follow me if you will. On the hunt for George the Animal Steel. There he is. Huh. Near the camels. The Sheik. Okay. Perfect for him. Where in the world is George the Animal Steel? Okay. That's remember they did the electroshock to try and get him to change him. Didn't work. He said, "How now, brown cow," was about it. Of course, Gene would know it's the Asiatic variety. Yeah, pretty good imitation. There you go. What kind of tiger is that? It's Detroit. Detroit tiger. At the Detroit Zoo, of course. Oh, look, the weasel. This is all puns. But Detroit Zoo, yes. Yes. Gene stepped in something. There goes the animal. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was when that's kind of the beginning of all of the vignettes that would soon follow after that to help put over the talent. And this is an interesting matchup. Lenny Poffo, who of course would become the genius, but this was prior to that. He became so brilliantly intelligent. Oh boy. Johnny Valiant. The big cigar. And this before, Brutus came into his own as the barber. Greg Valentine carrying the load on this. Gene, man, he was all over this episode, right? Man. Now, they didn't let Brutus say much back then. So this is for the tag team championship. Oh, yeah, see that? A little bit of mischief. Tag team title match. And, of course, Uncle Elmer's wedding we don't want to miss, or the wedding reception, of course, we don't want to miss that. So we come back from break. And, boy, Lanny looking an awful lot like Mark Marrow, right? With that hair. Oh, boy. Oh, Greg Valentine. Some big shots. And Lanny was a hell of a worker, though. He, him and his brother, Randy, and very much gymnastically skilled. See Barry Windham with the eye patch on, Mike Rotendo. But the Hammer, also did a lot in the ring. People I don't think give him credit. But he was, a big name in the WWF when they brought him in and was one of the biggest superstars they had when that all began. And it's funny to see that Brutus he's taken a back seat to all this. This is before he became as popular as he did. That was yet to come. Yeah, and Lanny's showing some moves. Now, back then that was kind of like, whoa. Now, geez, it's a regular part of it. What everybody does. That's nothing compared to what we're seeing today. And Brutus. And Brutus had paid his dues. He always got the idea that he was where he was because of Hulk, but there was a lot of time he went out on his own. He was working in different organizations. He was in Japan and a lot of these places around the world before he really became a mainstay with the WWF. So, you check out his history. Brutus made a name for himself, and he was a good hand, as they say. And in comes Tony Gurria. I was anxious to see him. I've not seen a lot of Tony ever in the ring. He keeps going here. This big drop kick sends them both flying. Here's a cover. And remember, this is for the Tag Team Championship, guys. Although, can you imagine that team, Gurria and Pafo, as the Tag Team Champions? I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. And drops the hammer, or elbow, whatever you want to refer to it as. He's stepping across for the figure four leg lock. Oh, boy. Gurria not able to get through, and he's gonna submit. So Brutus sends Lanny flying over the top rope as they retain those belts. All right. And Johnny Valentine there with a big stogie. As Howard comes in to make it all official. Yeah, okay. I think what they're calling them that's right, the U.S. Express. Rotundo and Barry Windham at ringside. But it never... They never got their chance to try and get those belts, at least from them. All right, and it's time to wrap this up almost. Thank God. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it was fun. It's fun to watch this, and this is the reception. And these are always so bizarre. There you got, Hulk was. Well, this is an interesting table, huh? Vince, Hulk, Orndorff, and Jesse. Jesse writing a poem. Gene was the star of these Saturday Night Main Event. I mean, look how many times he was on. He was more than anybody. I mean, he probably made 12 appearances in this thing. And it's no surprise that Gene became so popular among WWE fans, WWF, I should say, at the time. Yeah. What what is going on? They're just Jesse. It's Keith Richards look elegantly wasted. And of course, Gene Okerlund. Yeah. What? Oh, okay. We'll remember that. I think there's a little more to that theory, but apparently you don't. You eat with the left hand so you can pat a good friend and drink. Apparently, with your right. Who's got the porn stash? Here we go. Oh boy. Well, that's a plug for everybody. And we got a little NBC in there as well. There we go. Of course, that would come. Gene takes out the wine glass. Gene loved the good shtick, man, and I loved him for it. Yeah, it's just great. And then we got to have the toast, of course. There you go. Okay. Gene still with a come over. Okay, surprise guest. Long time post person. Tiny Tim. Wow. Want to wrap this up, huh? Tiny Tim still lived in New York City all those years. What did he do for all those years after the Johnny Carson fame? Yeah. Of course, you all remember. Not many of you, maybe you missed it, but of course, Tiny Tim got married to Miss Vicky on the Tonight Show. Didn't last. Can you imagine? Huh. Oh, you're going to take advice from Tiny Tim. Okay, yeah. That was a gimmick, though. Bring Tiny Tim on. Wow. So let's see if he even knows how to play it. Let's see. Okay, Tiny Tim's still kicking then. Uh-oh, Jesse's going to come on and wrap it all up. Wow, doesn't that sound awesome? Wow. Who knew? Jesse. So romantic. Here it comes. Ooh. Boy, there's the turn. Ooh. Uh-oh. Of course, we couldn't wrap this up without a... Oh, there we go. Into the cake. Gotta have the cake. I think we had cake in the first episode, didn't we? Yes, we did. Gotta have the cake theme. Got the cake gimmick. And Vince McMahon oh boy. Oh boy, you think we're laying we're paving the road here? Yeah, we'll just keep doing these quick little breaks. There we go. And Vince here to wrap it up. There you go. See, and I remember I said there's Dick Ebersol and Vince McMahon, executive producers. Always love watching the credits because names pop up there. There's Kerwin Silfies, the director, still with the WWE. George Scott, event coordinator, is the title they gave him. Well, at least it didn't end in a brawl, but we did get cake. Okay. And there you go. Wow. And we'll just stretch it out. We got to get everybody in there. Lou Albano. That's too bad that we actually have to see these guys dance. I mean, boy. Titan Sports and Once a Month Productions. You know, Ebersol, he had, there you go. Ebersol had his own production company. That's a chance that when he brought me in, and after I came in, he let me come on to do some of the Saturday Night's Main Event. But, it was pretty awesome that got that opportunity. But he had a production company called No Sleep Productions, and it was when he was kind of on this hiatus between network gigs, and he was producing Saturday Night's Main Event and a few other programs before he would, of course, go back to NBC and then be involved in, more network programming, a lot of sports as well. But, it was at the time it was just an amazing, period, because to have wrestling, having professional wrestling back on network television was huge at the time because it hadn't been on, as I mentioned, at the top of this since the 50s. And so it showed you where wrestling had gone to at this point from, basically being these territories that were on local television and, carved up to a very niche audience where people that would, have to really seek this out to find it. And, of course, Vince had started early on, a few years before, syndicating his shows to all these local markets where he was actually paying them to put them on. And within this period of time, we're talking 1985, October 85, you had the network involved. They were on network television. And, of course, and all the great pay-per-views that would come beyond that after the WrestleMania, the first one, and then it going from there. But just an amazing period of time. Saturday Night Live was huge still at the time. They had big names that were involved in the casts with Saturday Night Live. And they would come in and have these shows that would air, as Vince said right there, in 4 weeks. So they'd be on, once a month or so, where they would have these breaks between the Saturday Night Live shows. And that gave them the opportunity to really profile and show what the WWF was all about. And it was just, and it went on for years, which was just incredible to think. And believe me, if they wouldn't have been able to have those ratings, there's no way this stuff would have stayed on television. It just wouldn't have happened. They would have, would have been on for a few times and then just gone away. But even, back then it was all about numbers, and you weren't splitting the television viewing like they are today. I mean, it's just divided up. If you get a one, you see we were talked about, these numbers that were ratings that are now, you're talking if you get a 2 something share, that's big. You get 3, the 3 share, that's gigantic. So to have it change like that is just amazing. When back then you got big shares like 8 or 9 or even bigger than that. That was a big night, and they did this on a regular basis. So I hope you enjoyed it. I really love looking back on these because I forgot about what they really threw into these. That they would have, everything. They had vignettes. They had all these interviews. They packed a lot into an hour look at all the stuff they had in there. Besides the matches, there were some decent matches with superstars. They would do, all these vignettes, and then you had Gene all over the place. Good Lord, man, he was just all over. That they would have all these people on, and it was different from Superstars because, like we mentioned before, Superstars was this show where they just did squash matches. It was just bad. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed it. I love doing these, and we, of course, will keep doing these every week until you guys aren't listening to them anymore. But in the meantime, if you guys keep checking them out, I'll keep doing these, and it won't just be Saturday night's main event. We've been doing Tuesday Night Titans, and we've been doing some of these other things, these other programs. We might even do Prime Time. There's Superstars out there now. I'm hoping maybe they'll bring out Challenge, and we can do some of those. But I hope you enjoyed it. In the meantime, we'd love to have you join us on Patreon. Join our Patreon membership. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/primetimemooney. And for as little as $4.99 a month, $4.99, you can get all of our content. Just not even just the network classics, but also our individual, our original episodes every Wednesday. And then, of course, the Vault episodes on Saturdays. And they all drop at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll have a lot more of that coming your way. But check out our Patreon membership, patreon.com/primetimemooney. Check out our t-shirts at mooneytees.com. And, of course, we've got a lot more content coming your way. So, I'm glad you were able to check this one out. Be sure and check out the next episode we got coming up this Wednesday. And in the meantime, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Sean Mooney, and I am out.